Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Suspicious Rock 1661 from the RelationshipAdvice subreddit. It's been an ongoing story since June last year with multiple updates and a new one's just come out. So we're going to be covering all parts of the story. If you want to skip certain parts, timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. It is titled, My Husband, 32 Male, Left Me, 32 Female, after almost 15 years together and wants me to forget and let him come home. What are my next steps to stop that? My husband and I have been married for almost 2 years, but together for almost 15. He is my only long real boyfriend I've had in my adult life, and we have 2 children together. We've had a rocky relationship from the beginning if I'm being honest, but the last 3 years have, for the most part, been pretty great. The turning point for our relationship, I feel, was when he got blackout drunk at his friend's wedding and spent the entire 1.5 hours drive home that I drove him and his friend home from as I was sober, screaming at me and saying nasty things. Since then, things have been pretty good. I've been working on myself, have lost weight, putting some more effort into myself and my appearance, and have been making new friends. About 5 months ago, he woke up one day and told me he wasn't happy with his life or me and wanted to leave. He then decided he was wrong and didn't want to leave. Not to drag it out too much, but a highlight reel of the last 5 months, he has left me 4 to 5 times and comes back every time saying he is sorry. Been unhappy when I've gone for dinner or to see girlfriends. Got blackout drunk again and behaved horrendously towards me. I can't really talk about it on the thread. The same night as above, there was some severe drama with his family. I'm also being made to be the villain for telling them this behavior is disgusting, especially since our 2 children were asleep in bed when everything was happening. Called me every name under the sun, often in front of our children. Accused me multiple times of having affairs with absolutely no suspicions. I didn't realize a few of the things can't be discussed here. His excuses are that he doesn't feel loved enough by me and I'm not affectionate enough. But it's hard to feel affectionate to someone who's treating you like shit. I am getting very little family support and being made to feel guilty for breaking our family up if I don't just let him come back home. But he is never going to change. I guess I'm just looking for some validation and support that I'm making the right decision because I keep being told I'm wrong. What are my next steps to stay strong in my decision to not take him back and try and establish a healthy co-parenting relationship for our children? And look, it's abusive behavior, and currently you can see that you're in a cycle of it as well. You know, what you're describing, him leaving, then apologizing, returning, and repeat, and it seems to be getting worse and not better. And anyone telling you that you're breaking up your family, absolutely not. He's the one that's already broken it. He's the one that's already done all this to you. And there has to be a point where you start to protect your children from what they're seeing their father do, because you certainly don't want your kids growing up thinking that this is normal. The advice in this, and it'll probably come in the comments as well, is usually document everything, getting that legal advice now, changing locks if possible, and tell a trusted person, one that you can actually trust, everything that's going on, so you can get validation from them at the same time, because currently you're being told by family and they're pressuring you to stick with this relationship. You know, you're almost isolated with these people at the moment, and either they don't know the full story or they're just not acknowledging it. And in the end, you're not wrong. You're protecting yourself and your children from someone who's showing you exactly who he is. Barry says, say no. Keep saying no. Find an attorney. Keep all conversations between the lawyers. File for immediate custody pending divorce. Separate finances. Do what the lawyer says. Action. First and best steps to staying strong. Little old lady says, separate finances first thing. Make it happen tomorrow. Opie says, I actually don't even know how to begin separating our finances, as everything we have is basically tied up in our business. Mama Chunk says, this is something you ask your attorney. Siren Songwoman says, lawyer now. Don't tell him what you are doing. Do not talk to any family member. Tell one. They'll all know. Follow your lawyer's advice. So OP comes in with their first update 16 days later and says, I just wanted to firstly say thank you to everyone for all your responses. I can't tell you how much they've helped me through this time, and every time I was struggling, I went back and looked at them all. I just wanted to address a few things mentioned in the comments and then give an update, so skip to the end if you just want the update. I spent the last few weeks really thinking about our relationship and the dynamics, and honestly, it's difficult to really think about and embarrassing to think I've allowed this for so long. Some background to our relationship and dynamics of my life. We started seeing each other at 15, and on reflection, I can see he was pressuring me even back then to do what he wanted. Example, pressuring me into losing my virginity when I didn't want to. But thankfully, a friend intervened for me. I grew up in a house filled with domestic violence and an extended family that was very dysfunctional from trauma. Around the time we first met, my stepdad, who raised me and separated from my mum about 3 years prior, told me his new partner didn't like me calling him dad, and she was turning my bedroom at his house into her spare room for when her family came to visit, and essentially ended with him abandoning his dad role in my life. The night we started dating at 17 was, in hindsight, deeply troubling. We had been at a local function and had been friends. I was speaking with a mutual friend leading up to this night, and we snuck away to spend time together. When we came back to the function, our mutual friends were laughing about it, and he started screaming at me in front of everyone for hooking up with his friend when I knew he liked me and that I'm a bitch. I followed him out to apologize. No idea what I was apologizing for now, and ended up in a relationship with him. He habitually lied to me about using illicit substances throughout the years. He knew it was a hard limit for me as my relative had passed away from an overdose. I know to some people it is a bit ridiculous as it's pretty normal where we're from, but I didn't want to be involved with it in the slightest. He caused friendship breakdowns because friends would come to me and tell me he was using substances. He would deny it and tell me they were lying, and I would end up in arguments with them. He admitted 2 years ago to lying about it because he could see my viewpoint and had changed, and I was more accepting of it. Our relationship was great for the last 2 to 3 years. 1 to 2 years before our wedding and 1 year after. But on reflection, I realized it was because I was just being more obedient to him. I was basically a married single mum and handled everything at home, worked in our business, and was the primary parent for our children. Okay, now for the update. I saw everyone's comments about leaving him and running in divorce. That is definitely my plan, but I'm trying to be smart about everything and not rush it and do it on impulse. After my last post, I did cave to his pressure and allow him another chance. I told him that I was going to visit my friend's new apartment in the city and go for dinner together. He lost it and tried to forbid me from going. I told him I wasn't asking for permission, I was just letting him know. He was yelling and carrying on in front of our children that I either be husband and wife again or he's leaving right now. And I was just overwhelmed and trying to get him to stop, so I agreed. He also admitted to going through my phone to look at my messages with my friend because he didn't trust what I was saying. But shock and horror, a week later he left again. So currently we are not together. He keeps apologizing and telling me he loves me and regrets the things he was saying to me. He keeps asking me, so are you done or do you want to be with me? I reminded him that you left and we're not currently together. I said without real changed behavior, I'm not willing to be together. And I know he will not be able to do that because I now realize that I think he is a narcissist or at least pretty close. In the meantime, I have been recording many of our conversations and interactions. I'm meeting with a lawyer and speaking with an individual counselor and trying to get my house in a state for sale without it being obvious. I also forwarded many of our business financial documents to a separate email in case he restricts access to them. His work email is also on my computer, so I handled most of his correspondence. And a few days ago, he had an email from Snapchat about some password change or something. Not really a huge deal, I guess, but I'm pretty confident there is either another specific girl in the picture or he's having casual sex. If there's anything else I should be doing, anything you want clarified, or any thoughts you have, I'd love to hear it. And thank you all again. So a user called Matcha Magpie says, quoting, so currently we're not together, and then says, lady, on my hands and knees begging you to stop with this language. It needs to be, we're not together, period. OP says, you're right. We're not together, period. I promise it's not changing. 17 days later, OP comes in again with an update and says, "Hi all, I wanted to post an update for everyone who gave me advice in my previous posts and helped me through a really difficult time. My soon-to-be ex-husband has gone from our home for 2 weeks now. It has been 2 weeks filled with crash outs, love bombing and everything in between. But I've held firm and told him I'm completely out of the relationship and want a divorce. I've bought new security cameras for the time being, but want to sell our house and buy my own place as soon as possible. But separating our finances is going to be difficult. I know I'm only at the very beginning of the journey, but I'm feeling so proud of myself and strong in my resolution, and honestly, I haven't even missed him once yet. I feel free. The kids and I can be at home and do what we feel like without worrying if he will have a problem with it. There's no more yelling at home, it's just peaceful. So thank you again for your advice. I probably won't have another update, but thank you all, and if you have any tips or tricks negotiating custody agreements and divorce, that would be great. I can't tell you how much you all helped me push through the hardest part." Historical composer says, please do not cave into his excuses and love bombing. He will never change, no matter what he says or promises. I've read your other posts. He sounds like a piece of shit. You and your kids will be so much better off without him and his constant screaming and anger and abuse. Focus on yourself and your kids now. You should be very proud of yourself for moving on. I know it's scary and hard, but it will be so worth it. Best of luck and a happy future for you and your children. Opie says, "I absolutely will not. It's crazy how much you really see when you take off your rose-colored glasses. Thank you. It's a bit scary and definitely hard, but God, has it been worth it." Mira says, "Make a new bank account at a different bank in your home and only transfer your personal money and maybe half of the shared money there. Freeze your credit for the time being." Opie says it's difficult because most of our assets aren't liquid and are in equipment, etc. But I've already opened a separate account for my wages. Thank you. So it was 6 months after that update that OP came in again and said, "Hi all, I've had a few messages lately checking in on how things are progressing with my original posts 6+ months ago, and thought if anyone still remembered or interested, I'd give a quick group update. I'm still separated from my soon-to-be ex-husband and waiting until I can apply for divorce. You have to wait 12 months in my country. His behavior continued escalating after the separation and not being able to come home, and eventuated in the police applying for an intervention order against him on behalf of my kids and I. He's had no access to the kids since the start of December. Throughout this, I've been trying to process and heal, and with the help of so much external support, working through a relationship filled with every type of toxic behavior that I didn't even recognize at the time. It has truly been a bizarre experience for me because while my outside world has been metaphorically on fire, my inner world with just my kids and I has been the most peaceful, joyful world I've ever experienced. My children have never been happier. My daughter has stopped wetting the bed every night. My son is becoming the calm, caring boy he has always been, but publicly, they are thriving. I'm so proud of myself for fighting for myself and my kids, and when the process started, the only people I had making me feel like I wasn't going crazy was you all, and I'm so grateful. I think I mostly wanted to post this to show you guys what an amazing support system this can be, and that your words and encouragement really does have an impact, and also to treat those coming here looking for advice with kindness, because we really are trying hard. Thank you all again." Content letterhead says to the OP, "I'm so glad to hear this update. Not to alarm you, but depending on the age of the child, bedwetting can be a sign of sexual abuse. I hope you're getting counseling for the kids as well." OP says, "I actually didn't know that. I'd assumed it was from the stress. It can never hurt to look into it though. Thank you for making me aware." 7 Blue says, "Oh my god, so sad about what your children went through because of your piece of shit ex. People who stay for children should read this. So happy for you and your little family." Opie says, "I hope there's some women reading this who get some strength or comfort knowing you will never regret giving your children a mother who feels joy and peace." And I'm extremely happy for Opie and her kids for getting out of that situation and staying out. I mean, 6 months later and there's a police intervention order and he has no access to the kids. I think it's certainly something to be kept an eye on, isn't it? Because I don't know, it might be like read one too many stories, right? But we've seen this escalate time and time again. When she was talking about her outside world being on fire, but her inner world with just the kids became more peaceful than she'd ever experienced. Like, I was welling up reading that. I was like, oh, thank goodness. And this started at when Opie was 17 years old, and it just became normalized for them. That moment in the story where Opie said she realized that it was great only because she become completely obedient to him. And when Opie mentioned the daughter's bedwetting stopped, I really hope that's just because she feels a lot more safer in her environment too. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Dad's Girlfriend Throwaway from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. And it says, am I the arsehole for telling my father and his girlfriend to either break up or leave me alone? Just in case you've heard this in other places, because this story originally started back in July 2025, there is a new update to this story. So if you want to skip certain parts of it, please feel free to do so. Again, timestamps are down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. For context, my father is dating a younger woman who openly wants to have kids. He has 3 adult children and also openly doesn't want more. Some time ago, they decided to wait a few years to see if either of them would change their minds about it. Otherwise, they'd break up. I told my father it was a bad idea, but he didn't care. I'm pregnant. This will be my and my husband's first baby, as well as the first grandchild on both sides, so we're all very excited. But my father's girlfriend has been extremely over the top. She takes every shot she can to try and get involved in my pregnancy. To give a few examples, she calls me almost every day with name suggestions or parenting tips. Anytime I tell her and my father about something I'm planning for my baby, she feels the need to explain what she'd do or buy instead. She frequently asks me whether I'm having a boy or a girl because apparently she has different shopping lists for both. We know the sex and name, but won't announce either until the baby is here. She has asked whether she can attend one of my ultrasounds to see what it's like. Dealing with her has been very overwhelming. Even if she is just being caring, we were never even remotely close before my pregnancy, so she's been making me very uncomfortable. On Saturday, I stopped by my father's place to pick up some of my old stuff. When I got there, he was having an argument with his girlfriend. They said it had to do with my baby, so they explained it to me. My father's girlfriend wanted him to turn either the guest room or the home office into a nursery to make it easier for them to babysit my child. My father didn't want to get rid of either. I tried to be polite about it at first. I told him I wasn't planning on having them babysit, and I probably wouldn't use their hypothetical nursery when there was a perfectly good one over at my place. But my father's girlfriend said they'd been waiting so long for there to finally be a baby in the family, and she wanted to spend as much time as possible with my child. That's when I lost my patience. I said I understood they disagreed on having a baby, but it wasn't my problem. So I told him to either break up or leave me alone because I'm done dealing with this. The next day, my father called me. He said he understood I was frustrated and that he agreed his girlfriend has been going too far, but argued that she's just excited and trying to help me. And I'm being rude to her for denying so firmly. He's especially upset about what I said because his relationship is none of my business and I had no right to comment on it. My husband's on my side and so is my brother. My sister is pretty neutral. The more I think about it, the more mixed my feelings on this get. Am I the arsehole? Now, of course, absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. What you said was blunt, sure, but sometimes people need blunt. You told them that your relationship issues are creating problems with me. You deal with it. That's on you. That's not rude. That's a boundary in my opinion. And your father, the bloody cheeky so-and-so, saying that his relationship is none of your business, which is, particularly rich considering his girlfriend has made your pregnancy very much her business. You can't have it both ways. And you're absolutely right to start putting these boundaries down now and continue enforcing them because, if she's being this intense during the pregnancy, imagine what happens when the actual baby is here and she tries to get involved, etc. It just sounds like, your father just wants to be like peacekeeper here because, if she's focused on your baby, it benefits him in some way. My bloody word, but Commodore says not the arsehole. The girlfriend is the one being rude by trying to shove herself into your pregnancy experience. Setting up a nursery without even asking you is wild behavior. Time to put a stop to her involvement because she's going to keep pushing. The woman has some crazy baby fever. Opie says she's had baby fever for years. I genuinely don't know why she's still dating my father. Commenter replies saying she probably thinks she'll change his mind eventually. It may have finally set in that he won't actually change his mind, so now she sees your baby as her chance at sort of having a baby. Opie says it's been 4 years. She's 40. Could it really have taken this long to set it? Someone says that Opie's dad had a vasectomy or any chance of an accident happening. Opie says, I don't know whether he's gotten one, but if he hasn't, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Commenter says, not the arsehole. You're growing an actual human. Not running a community project for your dad's girlfriend to LARP as a grandmother. She's not family. You weren't close before, and now she's inserting herself into everything like she's on the guest list for your uterus. It's perfectly reasonable to set boundaries, especially when she starts demanding nursery space in a house that doesn't even have a babysitting gig lined up. Your dad can be in whatever relationship he wants, but that doesn't mean you have to let his girlfriend rehearse for a baby she's not having. Let her decorate a Sims nursery and move on. Opie says the fact that she wanted to set up a nursery really freaked me out. I'd given my father the okay to put a bassinet in the guest bedroom in case we needed it, but a whole ass nursery for a baby that won't live there? Someone says how far away do they live that you and your baby will be having sleepovers. Opie says about 20 minutes away, and no, my baby will not sleep over at my father's. The bassinet is in case we're visiting and the baby needs a nap. It was my father's idea, and I gave it the okay. Commenter says, if she wanted to help you, she'd be asking what you want. She isn't. Opie says, I never thought she was trying to help me. Almost every time my father offers to buy something for my baby, she turns it into their gift and swaps my request for the version of it she prefers. Last month, they gave me an expensive stroller that doesn't suit my needs because apparently her research said it was better than the one I asked for. More about the girlfriend, Opie says. I tried to keep her at arm's length, but she's so pushy it's not even funny. The way things are now is already an improvement. Not too long ago, she was trying to get her family involved as well. Opie adds another commenter saying, I agree they're both in the wrong for thinking they can get the other to change their mind, and it's the reason why I never felt sorry for them. They're both adults who know what they're risking by staying in this relationship. A long time ago, I told my father that them staying together was a waste of time. In retrospect, I admit that was harsh, but women don't have forever to get pregnant, and he wouldn't have the energy to raise a child in his 60s, so the only way for both of them to be happy was breaking up. He ignored me and said people change, and the time they spend together is never a waste. Another commenter says you're allowing your dad to lie to his girlfriend about potentially wanting kids is cruel. But if your dad doesn't even want a nursery for his grandchild, he's done raising kids and is lying to his girlfriend. He's only with her because he's stringing his girlfriend along knowing he already had a vasectomy. Opie said he's not lying to her. She knows he doesn't want kids, and he knows she does. About 4 years ago, they agreed to wait a while to see if either of them would change their minds about it, and I never mentioned any vasectomy. Opie comes in 8 days later with their first update, and they said, hey everyone, I went through your comments and took time to reflect a little more about this. I think I was too tired and frustrated when I wrote my first post, so I wanted to have a clear head before dealing with everything. As exhausting as it has been dealing with my father's girlfriend. I know how to manage it. Calls can be ignored, messages can be muted, and excuses can be made. I've done all of the above. The real problem is the point it's gotten to. I strongly believe in only cutting ties as a last resort, so the fact I actually considered blocking her, I've only done that to 3 people before, and they did a lot worse than she did, scared me a little. I don't care what decisions my father and his girlfriend make about their relationship. I know what I'd do in their shoes, but I don't have to tell them that. They're both adults who should know what they're doing by now, but whatever they do, I can't let it affect me and my child. When I told my father I was done dealing with this, I meant it. My father and I had lunch together on Tuesday, and I decided to bring this up. The first thing I told my father was that, moving forward, I won't share any information about my pregnancy with his girlfriend, and after I've given birth, she won't babysit or be left alone with my baby at any point, nor should she expect to get any more pictures or information that my father will get. He wasn't happy with that, but I didn't leave a lot of room for argument. My father did, however, try to spin it into a discussion about how I don't like his girlfriend and act too cold to her. That is not true, nor is it the first time we had that discussion. He's always hated the fact that me and his girlfriend aren't close. Once that was done, I told my father that as much as I don't care what he decides to do, his relationship problems have spilled into mine and my baby's lives, so I do have the right to comment on it. I told him that he needs to understand that even if he changes his mind about having kids one day, he doesn't really have a deadline to figure that out. His girlfriend is 40 years old and very clearly wants kids. At the very least, they need to have an actual conversation about what they both want and decide how to proceed. But whatever they do, she won't get her motherhood fix through my child. My father agreed with me in the end. He said he'd talk to her, but I don't expect her to hear more about this anytime soon. Additionally, no plans for a potential nursery at his place are moving forward. He didn't want that either, so it wasn't hard to get him to promise that. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think this will end well for them. If they choose to stay together, at least one of them will end up unhappy. But like I told my father, I'm done. They're not my problem anymore. My only concern from now on will be making sure my baby is safe. Whatever happens, I have what it takes to deal with it. Thank you guys for everything. The first commenter says to OP, good for you. The ball is in your dad's court now. If he loves you and wants to keep a relationship with you and your baby, then he needs to tell his girlfriend to respect your boundaries and back off. If he even tries to say, let's talk about this or compromise, then I would tell your dad that was his last chance for now and go no contact until he can grow a pair and make his girlfriend respect your wishes. OP says, I still stand by the idea of no contact only being fair if nothing else works. My father knows what he needs to do here, but I do agree with you and I'll stand my ground on this. A commenter says, your father is being unfair to the girlfriend about having a baby, but that's on the girlfriend to cope with. You're right to be cautious about who spends time alone with your baby. There are some crazies out there and girlfriend could be one of them. You've made some great decisions about baby, which should set your mind at ease. Congratulations on your pregnancy and have a happy, healthy baby. Continue to take care of you. OP says, I think both are being unfair. She's deliberately staying with an older guy who doesn't want more children instead of finding someone else who does. They both expect their partner to change their minds on this in a way that will only benefit them. Someone asks about how OP will handle hospital visits. OP says, the hospital knows we don't want any visits. My husband and I are seriously thinking of making exceptions for our mothers, but we're not sure yet. If we do decide that, we'll plan accordingly. Commenter says, if she's this delusional, you do realize that part of not letting her be alone with your child or babysitting has to extend to your father, right? She could just as easily take the baby and run when your dad is in the bathroom as she could if she was alone. OP says, yes, I do realize it. I wasn't planning on leaving my baby with my father anyway. He doesn't have enough free time to babysit. And someone says, does anyone in OP's family have a key to her place? OP says, no one but me and my husband does. We also live in an apartment building with good security, so it's impossible to show up unannounced. So it was 6 months after this that OP came in with what they titled their final update. It said, hey everyone, I remember telling myself I'd write one final update once it was all over, and then I completely forgot about it. Life has been chaotic. My father did talk to his girlfriend back in August, and he said she had told him she understood. It didn't seem that way from my end, but at least she stopped calling me. At that point I was too pregnant and too tired to not take that as a win. I didn't hear much about them for the next few weeks, but I was told that they had started having problems again. My daughter was born in November. We originally didn't want visitors, but my husband and I did end up deciding to make exceptions for both our mothers. No one else came. My father and his girlfriend met the baby a couple of days after we brought her home. She saw my daughter twice and was hard to deal with both times, wanting to hold her all the time and hesitating to give her back to us, asking to change her diaper, which I shut down, pictures every 30 seconds. During the second visit, I said I needed something from the pharmacy, and she tried to convince me to let her watch my baby while my father and I went to get it. I said it wasn't urgent, and I'd asked my husband to get it on his way home. 2 weeks after that, they broke up. That was in early December, and I didn't get details until right before Christmas. My father did talk to me about it a little, but he told my aunt everything, and I got most of the information I have from her. They started fighting around September because my father's girlfriend had bought some baby stuff, including a high chair, baby proofing kits, diapers, and a baby memory book, which she had already filled with some of my information and the last ultrasound picture I sent my father. She said she was planning to use that to hopefully convince me to let her babysit. My father thinks she was also trying to convince him to let her set up a nursery again. They apparently broke up for about a week back in 2024 because I got engaged and she tried to use that to convince him that they should have kids. According to my father, they got back together because they loved each other too much to give up on what they had. At my wedding later that year, she told my aunt she couldn't wait for me to have a baby. The actual breakup was dragged out for so long because none of their fights never went anywhere. Knowing my father, I'm not surprised. About a week after the second time they visited my daughter, he and his girlfriend tried to invite us over, but we'd already made plans. That was when she accepted that not only was I not willing to leave her alone with my daughter, but she also would not be seeing my baby as frequently as she wanted to. They broke up for good a few days later. I haven't heard much from my father's now ex since. She tried to ask me for pictures of my daughter around Christmas, which was when I blocked her. That was pretty much it. My relationship with my father is also a little less tiring than usual. But the best part of all of this is that I was not told about anything until after it was all over. At the very least, my request to be left alone was respected. Best of all, I didn't have to keep up with that drama while I was pregnant. I'll be done with my maternity leave in March, so for now, I'm getting to know my daughter. I can't even begin to describe how much I love this child. Sometimes I get overwhelmed just thinking about it. Again, thank you guys for everything. This is my last post. Someone says, I wonder if she thought that you'd hear her thoughts on parenting and see the scrapbook and legitimately just think, wow, she's really an expert at this. I'll just give her my baby. As though that was going to be the outcome. So she kind of kept dating your dad to get to your baby. That's wild. Opie says I can't be certain what she actually wanted, but I think she realized we weren't close and she probably wouldn't spend as much time with my baby as she wanted, which was why she wanted to babysit. The baby book freaked me out a little, not gonna lie. Someone said, did the ex-girlfriend keep the baby book? Opie says, I'm not sure whether she kept it or not. I haven't been to my father's place since before the breakup. Someone says I'd be worried because she put all your personal information in that book. Opie says, I'm not too worried about that. I think she just filled out memory book stuff. My and my husband's names, our family tree, my due date, etc. I bought a baby memory book for myself and that's pretty much all you can fill out before the baby's born. There are sections about how you found out, how dad reacted and more pregnancy stuff, but not much besides that. I don't think she wrote my social security number or anything. It freaked me out because why would someone fill out a memory book for a baby that isn't theirs? I wouldn't be bothered if it was just a scrapbook or something like that. Someone says good outcome, but an outcome that should have happened a lot sooner. They really dragged their feet. Opie says my father will always refuse to admit it, but he's bad at ending things. And I think they were very similar in that sense. From what I was told, every argument they had played out the same. She'd say she wanted a kid. He'd say he didn't. They'd fight and it wouldn't go anywhere. They'd stop talking to each other for 10 minutes and then change the subject. And that was OP's final update on the matter. So now I'm going to turn this one straight to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.